Good evening, podium chasers. I hope you're all well. Welcome back. It's crazy day. It's Tuesday, and that means one thing: Super Sprint Series. And I am looking forward to that. I need to turn my volume down a bit there. Those cars are a bit loud in my ears. But yeah, welcome everybody. Tuesday, we know that Super Sprint Series. If you were with us last week, you've got to be in for a treat this evening. There's even more thrown into the mix today. We are at the legendary Nurburgring this evening for round 6 of this season 1 within Formula Racing League. It's been a pleasure the last few weeks, I've got to say. Last week at Laguna was epic. There was 2 crazy races last week, and I'm certain, just by looking at the list of those gents that you can see there on the left hand side of your screen, we're going to have exactly the same tonight. So before we jump in, let's pop into the live chat. Let's welcome our viewers for the evening. Who have we got in? So Fresh Brizzle is in. Good evening, Briz. I hope you're well, mate. Yes, you're going to be with us soon. Yeah, on PC. Can't wait. And Sean Freeman's in as well. Let's go, JR. Still working. That is a shame, mate. I was looking forward to seeing you in here this evening, to be honest with you. But plenty of opportunities. No need to worry about that. Mr. King Phoenix in as well. Good evening, Mr. Coops. How are you, sir? I hope you are all well, fine and dandy on this beautiful Tuesday evening. I have to say, it is a little bit warm in the comms box today. So what I've done is, apart from my usual partner in crime, i.e. Mike, I've got my biggest fan in with me this evening to keep me cool. That was nice, wasn't it? Anyway, enough of the dad jokes. Everyone else on console knows that I roll those out quite often, but it is quite warm in here, about 28 degrees. So I will endeavour to keep keep calm and keep up with all the action. So what's the format for this evening? It's very simple. It is a sprint series. So we have 2, not 1. We have 2 20-minute sprint races. There is a 10-minute qualifying session before each of those, so it's a shortened qualifying session, which I have to say I think works really well in this series because it puts some real pressure on the drivers. You know, they've got to get out there, they've got to get the tyres warmed up. That's going to take a lap or 2, and then they might get 1 or 2 flyers. If they're making mistakes, you don't have a lot of time to recover from that. So, you know, these are all the things that are pretty important. So we have a 10-minute qualifying session, then we'll go straight into a 25-minute race. No pit stops, no mandatory stops required for this series. So, as I said last week and the week before, this is just a total, absolute, lights to flag, push. Yeah, just give it your all. And we've seen some of the racing. I mean, I have to say, if you haven't watched last week's, I would implore you to go and do that, especially race 2. The racecraft that was on show last week, and the quality of the driving, the standards. We're talking bumper to bumper, wheel to wheel. And there wasn't many incidents at all last week in race 2. I would implore you, go and have a watch of that. Okay, but obviously don't if you don't want to. That's totally fine. You can enjoy this evening. So Nurburgring, very very technical track. Was actually the first track I ever did comms on, actually, way back when, with my old teammate Timmy Blundell. Give him a shout out this evening. Hello, Timmy. Hope you're well. Not that he's got a Porsche. Now that he's in Abu Dhabi earning tons of money, he doesn't really care anymore. But there you go. Felix says, "What a brilliant Peter." Yeah, I know. Keddy on the track. I mean, what is that? Maybe we're going to get to see more of that this evening. So we'll run through who's with us and who's not with us in a moment. We will obviously do a full lap guide as well. We normally save that for qualifying, but we'll try and do that again, although last week we had to split that into 2 parts, again because people are pushing so much on their push laps, we were getting mistakes being made. So I think I'll pick a tried and trusted source for that lap guide this evening, and obviously all the action will have full live comms as always. Yeah, Nurbs, first track I ever did comms on. For me, when I started on my sim racing journey, and as I said last week, primarily I am a driver. I just do a lot of the comms because I really love doing it. It was a really difficult track for me to get on board with. There's a lot of time to be won, and there's a lot of time to be lost in certain parts of the track, certain corners. Obviously, the way that you're approaching the different corners, the lines that you're taking, and how you're getting those braking, that braking done and getting back onto the accelerator in a in a considered fashion, yeah, rather than just trying to plant it every time you can. And I generally feel the Nurbs is kind of a go-to kind of proving ground. Yeah, it has a bit of everything. So we've got some good long straights. We've got obviously a high-speed chicane at the end of the back straight. You've got some medium-speed corners. You've got a couple of low-speed corners. So it's very... The cars have got to be set up just right to be able to deal with, cope, and then hopefully maximise on all of those situations that are going to present themselves. We're going to find out, aren't we? So we've got 5 in at the moment. Thank you for watching so far. If you haven't, please press like. It takes half a second, means the world to me, and it helps the channel. It helps people get to see more of what we're all about here at Formula Racing League. So let's have a quick gander. Who have we got? So we were watching Kerikez there. Let's come away from Kerikez for a moment because he's just sat in the pits. Let's have a look at Finkbeiner. Now, this chap, Mika, really impressed me. First race with us last week, and he ended up having an absolutely titanic battle with Michael Races in P2. Qualified really well in P1, then I think had a spin or got shunted, and then ended up way back down the grid. But in P2, I mean, he had an absolutely storming race, and I think Michael was very lucky to get that win, I have to say. Not that he doesn't deserve his wins, but Finkbeiner definitely would have had him on that last lap. And I think it was, what was his name? I can't remember the chap's name now. He is not in this evening. Vapon, something like that. He actually got in the way. He was backmarking, he was being blue flagged, and he got in between Michael and Finkbeiner. Didn't get out of the way probably as quick as he should do, and that caused Michael to open up a 6/7/10 gap, which was enough to see him through to the end of that lap and take the win. So he really impressed me last week, and as you can see already by the free practice times, he's top of that leaderboard with a 1:55.055, which is no mean feat because I believe we've probably got a green track. So that's quite a good time. Keddy is in with us this evening. So let's run through who we got. So I think Beiner's in the 220 Porsche. Marco Keddy is in the 737 Audi. Everyone knows Marco Keddy. He helps, well, pretty much runs the PC side of things, in between flying planes and talking to very pretty air hostesses. Michael Races is in. He's currently third. John Betton's in his 987 Aston. Duran is also in with us this evening. Serkan Duran, first race with us last week. If you remember, I kept saying he was our man Duran. That's probably going to stick for the rest of the season, so I'm sorry about that. In his 100 Lambo, and actually he's got a great name. The team name is Clueless Racing. That's almost as good as Chris Vining's team's name, which I'll remind you of later on if you need me to. Dave Goodway is in the 37 McLaren. Kerikez, who we were watching earlier on, is also racing this evening in the 84 Honda. Van Ries is in his 52nd Porsche. Mannerm, again, first race with us last week, so again, great to see him back, which is good, in the 32 Audi. Cameron Martin is in his BMW number 27. Chris Schneider in the 14 BMW is also with us this evening, which is good to see. Ivanov is back with us in the 95 Aston. T-Pain in his Bentley, the 23 Bentley. Is he still gone all black? Let me have a look. Where is he? Where's Mr. Payne? There he is. His all black Bentley. It's had a couple of really good races, actually. I know last week, we caught a screenshot last week that was like 3 wide. Him, Dal, and Dal's with him right now on track. Look at that. And I think it was Lurchie's, but great racing last week, really was. So Payne's in his 23 Bentley. Lurchie's, which is Ace Grace, is in the 93 Bentley. Ian Thompson, aka Chico, is in the 55 McLaren. Neil Woodward's in again this evening, which is great to see in the 999 McLaren. James Williams, I missed out there. How could I miss him out in the 41 AMG? He's with us again this evening. I had a top 10 finish last week, so he'll be looking to see if he can certainly hold on to that or maybe push up a little bit more. And then Goswell's in. Goswell had some fantastic pace last week, really did. Really had great pace last week. Just unlucky with a couple of incidents, so keep a lookout for him in the number 8 Mercedes. Vartox is in. I believe Vartox is first one out the bag with us. Certainly, I don't think I've commentated on Vartox before, so welcome. I hope you enjoy yourself in the 803 McLaren. Then we've got Herbert's in the 46 Audi. Sokolov is back with us in the 44 Lambo. Had a bit of a testing week last week, I would say. Dow's in the 78 Aston with the sort of Scottish flags all over it. And then JR Lock and Load, Mr. Hughes is in the 212 Bentley, and of course Eli Poe in the 969 BMW. Sorry, I meant Hughes is also in a BMW. Used to drive a Bentley, not at the moment. So that runs through who we've got in with us. Chris Viner says, another mast. Exactly, Chris. That's what I was talking about. It slipped my mind for a second because I'm trying to think ahead about what I'm going to say about all the individuals here. But yes, Chris Vining's in the live chat. Good evening to you. Hope you are, mate. And yes, another massive accident. That is his team name. So at the moment, I think him and what's the chap's name? And where is it? And Duran. I think with those two, they're neck and neck for me for the best ironic team name. That's what we're going to run with. So 9 of you in so far. So good evening if you just joined us. We're in free practice. This is the Formula Racing League Super Sprint Series round 6. We're at the Nurburgring. I do believe the weather gods have mentioned that potentially it may get a little bit dark. And if it does get a little bit dark, well, thank God they're in GT3 cars, because we know the GT4 cars is absolutely pointless having lights on them. As Down pops a comment in there, not going to have a nice night, not enough practice, and I'm a chocolate button. And so, Dan, you're going to have a great race. Doesn't matter where you finish, there'll be plenty of people for you to battle with. Remember, this is the sprint series. Yeah, you know, I know we all want to be clean racers, but the ego of racing drivers naturally is bigger than the metaphorical helmet that they're wearing in sim racing. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Yeah, good. It will get dark. I'm glad it's going to get dark. So, down, press like if you haven't done it already. Otherwise, I'm not doing this for you anymore. I've got to be strong with Hangman Dal. Otherwise, on a Friday, you know, if I have a race and he's doing the live stewarding, he's just going to be throwing out penalties to me, isn't he? Of course he is. I'm a tortoise. Yeah. Anyway, Dal's putting me off. He loves to put me off with his witticisms. Right, anyway, let's get back to have a look at this, what we've got left on this. So we've got 5 minutes left of free practice. We have got 24 degrees ambient at the moment, a 28 on track as Chris Schneider pulls over in the 14 BMW. And Finkbiner's had a little off there, as we can see. Shall we get a replay of what happened with him? Let's have a little look now. It's just catching him going over there. So, right, we're going to get some familiar, I believe, some familiar times and people in terms of where they are at the moment. Where has that gone? There we go. So Michael races. He has decided to turn up to the party. As expected, we know Michael is a rapid driver. There's no question about that. You can't... To be honest with you, there's loads of rapid drivers in here. Michael is normally at the top end of that bunch, although I think he's going to have his hands full this evening, which is great from our point of view. So he's currently just put the quickest time in with a 1:54.865. Eli Poe, again, remember last week I said these guys are like yin and yang, you can't separate them, they're always together, is 0.02 of a second off that pace. So a huge gap between those two, which hopefully will carry on throughout the race. Finkbiner's under 0.2 in the Porsche. He is going to be a handful. Keddy is also, he's only 0.05 behind Finkbiner. So again, we're talking the top 4 there are all covered by less than 0.2 of a second. Kerikes is currently 5th. Armand Duran, sorry, I've got to stop saying that, is 6th. Johnny 7th. Crazies, Goodway, is 8th. Chris Schneider 9th. Van Ries is currently making up the top 10. Then we've got Manor, Martin, Thompson, even off Payne, Lurchies, Mr. Williams, Goswell's in the pits, Woodward, Vartox, Herbert, Sokolov, and Dal. Dal, get back out there, man. Dal says, because I'm easy in all ways. I am, you're correct. I'm very easily pleased. I like to please other people as well, Dal. Yes. And obviously very easy on the eye, hence the disco lights in the background to distract everybody from my serious face. Right, so Michael's still running in first place at the moment. So, session is over. Let's get into... Let's get over there, 1 second. Okay, so we're now going to move into qualifying. Remember what I said, who's going out there? 19. Who's our 19? 19. That number has not been changed, has it? So we need to find out who that is. So they're all coming out there, they're all getting ready to get into free practice. So we'll pick one of our drivers, and obviously we need to have a look. Oh, JR's out early doors. Wow, Mr. Lock and Load evidently wants to be part of the lap guide, doesn't he? I believe so. It's fine by me. JR's a fantastic driver. Let's go. We haven't been on board with any cars yet. Look at that lovely livery he's got there. Really like that. Stands out quite nicely. Okay, so on board we go with Mr. Hughes in his 212 BMW. Again, he's just going to take this lap. Remember, we've only got 10 minutes here. We don't have a 15-20 minute session where we can, you know, do a few warm-up laps, go out, do a couple of push laps, tweak the tyre. I mean, this is just, you've got to go for it. Yeah, so he's basically got this lap, maybe the next lap to get those tyres in that operating window, and then he's just got to push a little bit more. So we will follow him through this lap, and we'll pick it up as we get into his push lap, and then we'll do a full lap guide for everybody. Just so if you haven't watched us before, or if you're not familiar with the Nurburgring, or even if you are, you know, it might help. It might be not helpful at all. I don't know. Okay, so up towards Coca-Cola curve. So he's taking a nice wide line there so he can get on the throttle nice and early. So full throttle down the main straight. We've got a really tight right-hander. It's almost a hairpin at the bottom here. So we're looking for the 100-meter board on the left. Just past that, we're going to get hard onto the brakes, and we're going to trail into first gear. So on the brakes now, down into first gear. Get the car tucked in. We can now get on the throttle as soon as we get through that divot there. Pull the car over to the right of the track. We're going to back out slightly, get the car tucked in. Just use the curb slightly. As soon as we get to that apex, we're going to squeeze, go wide, and then we've got heavy braker zone here. Trail into first gear. Slow part of the track, so it's important to keep to the left so we can swing across to the right up to second. Then we pause, and then we accelerate. It's very easy to invalidate your lap time coming out of that corner. Okay. There used to be some cones here on the right hand side. Just after that, we're going to get on the brakes, down a gear, carry as much momentum as we can through there. Then when the curb starts on the left, down another gear, get the car tucked in. There's a kink in the curb just there on the right. That's where we're going to accelerate. We use all the curb on the outside, then we've got a straight run all the way down towards the hairpin. So when the curb on the left goes light grey, we're down on the brakes into second gear. The Beamer's got very good brakes. Then we can get on the exit curb, the run up to the Schumacher S's. We need to climb the curb on the right, off the power for a second. He didn't even back off there, so that's commitment for you. Normally you back off just a switch there, but he's going for it. And then we're going to go just after the 100 board, hard on the brakes, down into second, but must hook up that curb on the left hand side. We're just going to pull the car around, then down with the brakes again. We're going to wait. You'll see a little kink. There's the kink, the little white line kink on the curb. That is your signal to absolutely floor it. We don't want to be touching the curb on the right hand side here. We've got a nice smooth run up towards the chicane. Again, so this is about how brave are you now. So between the 150 board, on the brakes, down a couple of gears, swing her in. Some cars will allow you to take more curb than that, and then when the track goes dark there, that's again your signal just to get onto the brakes, down into second, nicely trailed in, on the throttle early, use all the exit curb, and away we go. So there's a lap completed at 1:55.345 from Mr. Hughes. Very nice, mate. Well done, you. And thank you for letting me do that. So there we go. So Theodore Ivanov in the 95 Aston Martin. What can he do as he comes across the line? Neil Woodward comes over, is 2.5 seconds off the pace, and Ivanov is also a good 2 seconds further back at the moment. So without trying to do anyone a disservice, as Payne comes across the line, that's better. So Payne goes provisional second. Eli decides, I'm going to go provisional pole actually, thanks very much, and Eli does a 54.430. So that is almost a second quicker than what Lock and Load did. And Michael Races, again, these two are starting their little battle, aren't they? Michael Races goes even quicker than Eli, only by 500ths though. So he's done a 54.380. So there is nothing to choose between them two. Kerikez is up to 4th. Manham's put a good time in there as well. So he's currently 5th. Thompson is 6th. And then we're watching Payne at the moment. You've got Goodway even off Woodward. That's your top 10 currently. Goswell. Where's Goswell? Has he just put a better time in? No, Goswell's 12th and Herbor is currently in 13th place. So Eli's going slowly. Again, I'm not going to tell you his team name because I'll get banned, but Eli's got an interesting team name. Old Slow Kitty Cats, but it's a different word for the kitty cat thing. As we watch Eli just coming down, right. So in the live chat currently, what do you think, guys? Who do we think is going to poll this as Finkbeiner comes around? Actually, I do want to have a look at Finkbeiner because evidently Eli's on a slow lap at the moment. Aha, Cascanova is in. Brecht Films is in. Hello, Brecht. Hope you're well, mate. So no change in those top two. Keddy puts in a decent lap. So Keddy's gone provisional 3rd with a 54.735. So those 3 individuals are currently in the 54s, and I'm expecting Finkbeiner to join them in the 54s. Let's have a look at him. What a beautiful shot that was as we're coming up to the last corner. He gets a little bit... Oh, no flames that time. Get a little bit squirrely coming out of there. Into the Coca-Cola curve, onto the start-finish straight. So what's Finkbeiner do? Is he going to join the top 4? Does indeed. I did say I expected him in the top 4. So we've got Michael, Eli, Marco and Mika. That's your top 4 currently. So JR has a little bit of work to do to close the gap down on them. Now I know when I was speaking to him earlier on today, he was saying that he'd be quite happy actually. Be quite happy if he could get sort of top 5 finishes, what he was aiming for this evening, but wouldn't be too disheartened if it was a little bit further back from that. I mean, obviously, it's good pace in this grid. JR's a very quick driver, but I think he recognises that there is some very, very good drivers over here. Chris Schneider goes P5 at the moment as well, so that was a good time from him. What's Chris Schneider done? A 55.1. So Finkbeiner's on a 55 flat, and Michael and Eli are still out there slugging away, aren't they? They are indeed. So what is Mr. Hughes going to do? Traction Dave, good evening. Traction Dave has joined us in the live chat. Hello, mate. I hope you are well. I was going to ping you yesterday, actually, just to see how things are going, you know, with the move and stuff like that. And when can I expect to see your godlike skills back on track? As Hughes crosses the start-finish line, does he improve on that one? No, Finkbeiner's got a yellow flag at the moment, so I take it JR is on his push lap. So Eli's coming up to... This is going to be tight. I know Keddy's got to have more time. Keddy's definitely got to have more time in it. So up towards the chicane comes Eli. Finkbeiner's just behind him, as you can see, on track at the moment. And I believe Michael's just a little bit further back. So that looks like we're going for... Are we going for a push lap now? We're... See the lights coming on. It's starting to get a little bit darker now. Right, has Eli got to improve? No, so this has got to be Eli's lap. Okay, so people are struggling at the moment, it would appear. People are definitely struggling to improve on those initial lap times. All good, buddy. Moving on Friday. Brilliant. Excellent. That's great news, Dave. That is great news, mate. I'm very happy for you. Just think you could spend millions of hours doing that now. Millions. Right, Chris Schneider still holding on to that 5th place. Hughes is 6th. Benton is 7th. Goodway. We're looking at Keddy at the moment. Wow, Keddy has improved. Look at that. Oh, fantastic. And look at the livery. What a fantastic livery Keddy's got on that Audi. That's it. You park it sideways for me so we can have a look. That is a beautiful livery on that car. So let's get back with the top guys at the moment. We'll run through everyone else shortly, but Michael's got himself 500ths of a second as a gap. Keddy has stuck that potentially on P3. He's only 700ths behind, so the top 3 are currently covered by less than a 10th. which is, well, less than 3/4 of a tenth, which is pretty astonishing. And Hughes, there we go. So he does, lock and load does improve. He goes within 4/10. That's a great lap from him at 54.812. Over to you, Michael. Over to you, Finkbeiner. Let's see if he can spoil that part in. Eli's obviously trying as hard as he can to usurp Michael. We've gone into the wait time, so if people aren't on a lap, Eli, as you can see there, has just pulled over, so Eli's not going to take pole position. So I feel Finkbeiner is probably the only individual now that could potentially challenge Michael. So we'll see how this one pans out. Nope, he's not challenging him. Pushing so hard there through that last chicane. It's always going to be an issue with that Porsche in terms of how aero dependent she is, really. You know, you're chucking the weight of the car around massively there in terms of change of direction, and the Porsche is probably the one car you really don't want to be doing that in, as in pushing too hard. So grid for race 1, that was hectic, guys. I told you it would be. Michael raced on pole position, congratulations, with a 154.380. Eli's in second place, half a tenth further back. Then we've got Keddy has put his Audi on third place, 700s behind. Then JR Lock and Load's put himself on the second row, just under half a second. Finkbeiner's currently fifth in his Porsche, 6/10 alongside Chris Schneider in the BMW, 7/10. And then Duran, whoa, that's a great qualifying by our man Duran in 7th place, 1.2 seconds. So you can see there's a pretty big gap between those 6. Tadima is in 8th. Hey, Rick, good to see you, mate. I didn't know if you're going to be in tonight or not. John's 9th in his Aston. Crazies, aka Goodway, is in 10th place in his McLaren. Then we've got Manners in 11th. Payne is 12th. Kerrick's 13th in the Honda. Even off his 14th. Van Rees is starting down in 15th. That I did not expect. So Van Rees 15th. Chica is in 16th place. Cameron Martin 17th. Lurchie's 18th. Mr. Woodward is going to start in 19th place next to James Williams. I'll get rid of that in a moment. Williams. Dow is 21st. Michael Thomas is going to start 22nd. Harry Goswell. Man, that isn't a great time. Definitely expect better from Mr. Goswell, to be fair. We'll see how the race pans out. It's 23rd. Vartok's 24th. Then we've got Sokolov in 25th. Herbort 26th. And Mr. Wilms is 27th. So I'm sure you will all agree that was pretty awesome. That was pretty awesome. That was hectic. So the usual protagonists, really. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting traction between the top 3. I did think that they were, they were looking pretty close in free practice. I'm not going to don't write off JR here either. I know he's fallen a bit tenths down on that, but in terms of race pace and how that Beamer handles, he could put some pressure on Keddy there. And Finkbeiner, if he could just get that Porsche a little bit more settled, I feel, through that last chicane, he has got fantastic pace, as has Chris Schneider in his Beamer. So it could be anything. Fastest lap for me tonight was, what, you're saying you're going to get the fastest lap, Lurchies, or that was your fastest lap, mate? Great effort anyway. And Chris is in. He says, good luck, JR. Of course you do, Chris. And of course, good luck to JR as well. As everybody. It's not like anyone's paying me, James. Expecting a check on the first, but hasn't turned up yet. That's your PB. Lurchies, well then you've already had a great evening, haven't you, mate? If you've just banged out your PB. So we've got 1 minute left on the wait time, and then we'll put ourselves in a position where we're going to go racing. But it's getting pretty dark, isn't it? And the track temps drop dramatically. So at the moment it's 21 ambient and 21 on track. So the on-track temps drop by 7 degrees. That's probably going to continue to drop, I would suggest. Although the ambient temperature is good in terms of fast lap time. So if we can get those tyres in the right windows, we should be seeing some pretty good lap times. Obviously the focus for us at the start of this race is going to be 27 cars all piling into into T1, isn't it? That is going to be something we're going to have to focus on and hope that everybody gets in there nicely, really. Right, here we're going to look at today. Keddy, Mika. Yeah, let's start with Thinkbiner. Right, Formation Lap is about to get underway. If anybody hasn't watched before, obviously Formation Lap, it's a full lap of the track. Obviously it gives everybody time to run through their heat cycles, make sure that their tyres have got enough warmth put through them in terms of braking, accelerating, using the heat from those brakes to dissipate into the tyres, and make sure everything is in or as close to that operating window as possible for the start of this race. And as we've seen before, T1 is, well, it's tight, it's banked downhill. Fuel loads aren't going to play a massive issue this evening, as you know, because it's only a 25-minute sprint, so there's no pit stops involved in this particular race. But brakes and tyres will play a big part into turn 1 and this section as well, the Mercedes Arena, this section of the track as well. You know, it's a slow section. People are probably going to be understeering around a bit in the first lap or two. I think we're in for a cracker. Just see the light. Yeah, do you know what? I think it's going to be really cool this evening to see a lot of the action from the different angles within the car and just outside the car in terms of the light changes and what they can and can't actually see. Okay, 6 of you still with me. It's good. It's good. Let's hope we have a fantastic evening of racing. I'm sure we will. It doesn't ever disappoint, really, does it? Let's be honest. Let's have a little bit of water. Oh, you know where we need to be, don't you? We need to be looking out the back of the Porsche. You'll see why when we get to the top of the hill. Because Chris Schneider's going to drive. No, it's not. But it's going to drive straight through the back of the hill. He's not going to do it now, is he? No. Okay. Just again, I know I wax lyrical about the simulator. I absolutely love it. And just then when you saw them going under the lights, the way the light shimmered off each car and turned into a sparkle, and these are tiny things, right? But when you pick them up and you're watching it, you're commentating on these things, or when you're driving and you're picking up these details, you think it's nailed, isn't it? It's just fantastic. Right, anyway, we're coming towards the end of the formation lap, which means one thing and one thing only. It's almost time to go racing, ladies and gents. Everyone's now going to form up 2 by 2, as you can see. Everyone's getting into position, getting ready. I'm doing a bit more weaving, to be fair, like that Porsche in the background. But, that was Tadema there, so we need to get those tyres in the window. So remember, this is round 6 of this Super Sprint series. I believe we've got one more to go after this one, so I think this is the penultimate one. Eli could potentially tie this one up this evening, so we'll see what happens. Remember, it's 2 races, 2 25-minute sprints as we go into the Coca-Cola curve, and everybody is now ready to go. Right, enjoy everybody in the live chat. I'll be back to you all a little bit later on. But first of all, we've got something to concentrate on. So they're all waiting now. Well, they didn't have to wait for long, did they? So we have a green light. No challenge at the moment. 3 wide just behind that. As we go into 2-1. So Michael's got a clear gap at the moment. Eli's taking the middle of the track there, as you can see. And Duran, I thought Duran was going to make a bit of a dive. And we have had a big crash at the back there. We've had a big crash at the back there. Someone got taken out. Oh dear. And so that looks like Van Ries and half the field. I did say, did I not? I did say, as Eli looks to put a move on Michael, and Eli's gone really, really wide there, that 100% that should be a track limits warning. As we're coming into this section for the first time, you can see Michael is right alongside him. Can't hold the speed through there. He would have ended up understeering, probably wide. So Michael tucks into second place. So Eli goes into the lead. Michael's currently running second. I did say we had to keep an eye on this chap. I think Biney's moved himself up from 5th to 3rd already. Where is Armand Hughes. We'll have to check him out in a minute once the computer's down with its thing. So it looks like Tadima's got himself up to 4th place as well. So we've got 2 Beamers, 2 Porsches there, and then Keddy. So Keddy's dropped a couple of places in his Audi. He finds himself down in 5th place, and then JR Lock and Low, Mr. Hughes, has actually ended up dropping a couple of places himself down into 6th. And Finkbeiner's had an awful, just threw it off the track there by the look of it, and he's now in a position where he's got Chris Schneider all over the back of him and Duran. So we've got big battles developing here. Chris Schneider's just next to us, remember. As they go up towards, wow, I thought Duran was taking too much speed in there for a moment in his 100 Lamborghini, but he didn't. He held that perfectly, but that was certainly a moment, and it looks like JR is putting a lot of pressure all over Tadima at the moment. So he's in the slipstream, he pulls out, so he's taken the outside line into turn 1, so Tadima's got the inside line. How's that gonna fare? All while they're putting pressure on Keddy, and you saw Michael Races putting a challenge on there. He got alongside Eli, but Eli's kept that line, just kept enough speed going through this part, turn 2. So Eli and Michael are as you were. Remember, there was only 500ths, not 5/10ths, 500ths between them in qualifying. And as you can see, well, let's get on board with Keddy and we'll just have a quick look at these two as they try and scamper away. So Keddy in his Audi trying to do his best to hold onto the coattails of Eli and Michael. Tadima, as we can see in those rear view mirrors, was in 4th, but it looks like Hughes has passed him. Yep, Hughes has passed him, so that's a great move by him. So well done, mister. So Tadima now finds himself down into 5th. Chris Schneider, you can see just behind in the black and white Beamer, but he's just had a massive wobble through there and he's gone really wide onto the gravel. That's let Finkbeiner through. That will also let Duran probably good way away. You can see there's a big train of cars coming through there. So Chris Schneider's just got himself a little bit offline. Maybe he ended up on the marbles a tad, and that's just dragged him off to the side of the track and into the gravel. And all that hard work that he'd done has just been undone, unfortunately. So we've only had 3 minutes. We've only had 3 minutes of this race. There's so much going on already. It's unreal. Right, let's pick things up. So Eli, Michael, Keddy, no change there. So a couple of attempts between them two. We're looking at Hughes at the moment. Tadima was in front of him, but he's made the move on him. And Mr. Hughes looks like he's only half a second behind Keddy. We'll keep an eye on that down to your top 5, top 6 file through to begin another lap. Dave, good way. So look at Dave. So Dave in the 34 McLaren there, he's got himself up to 7th place. Keddy's just set the quickest lap of the race with a 1:55.425. So we'll keep an eye on that. Remember, qualifying times they were late, probably mid 54s. So we'll see if anyone can improve on that as we get further into the race and that fuel burns down. Chris Schneider, we saw had that off earlier on. He's currently in 8th place, just behind Goodway at the moment, and then Chica is in 9th, and John is in 10th place. So we've got some nice battles developing everywhere. Wow, 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow, I mean, there's a train. How long do you want that train behind? It's a big train. So Thompson even off. Michael Thomas, Armand Duran in the Lamborghini, remember, who qualified up in the top 6 and was doing really well at the start of the race. Evidently had a slight off. Finds himself down in 13th place. Payne is in 14th place, half a second behind him. Then you've got Mr. Williams in the 41 AMGs, 3.5 seconds. Lurchie's second further back. We've got Herbert Goswell, Van Rees. And Van Rees looks like he's getting pretty close, doesn't he? Let's have a look at him. It looks like he's already made that move then, because that timing screen is not correct. He's chasing down Harry Goswell there. Oh, he's already passed him, hence. Cameron Martin, 19th. Goswell's dropped another place. He's down to 20th. Evidently not having a particularly enjoyable evening in that Mercedes at the moment. He's just going to get passed by the Honda of Kerikes as well. Just drove straight round the outside of him there through the Schumacher S's. So I think Goswell, this is a damage limitation scenario for him this evening. We've got some white flags showing on my timing screens for him, which obviously means slower moving vehicle. So I just don't think his car, or him and the car, or a combination of that, is working particularly well with the tracks. Kerikes 21st, or sorry, 20th. Manum in the Audi, the number 32 Audi, is that him? He's now just making a move also on Goswell. So that car is not happy, is it? And Sokolov in the 44 Lamborghini, he's going to come up behind him pretty soon as well. Where's Dow? Dow's running 24th, still running though, which is good to see. And there we go. Brett Wilms, Cascanova, running 25th place at the moment. I assume similar situation to last week, just managed to get in before the qualifying session. So it's great. At the end of the qualifying session, so great to see him racing with us again this evening. I know he's a really big advocate of FRL and Rickings Motorsport. He's a good guy, good all-round guy. And Mr. Woodward, where are you at, Neil? And Neil's still at it. Good. It's 25 minutes. We don't want to see people jumping in the pits anywhere. So that gives you a rundown of everyone. Michael Races is now in the lead of this race. So Michael's managed to put a move on Eli and has also taken the quickest lap of the race from Keddy at 1:54.927. That's a full half a second quicker than what Keddy did. You can see Keddy's in third place there, chasing down Eli. And then, well, lock and load. He has not lost touch with these boys, has he? Has not at all. So your top four are have broken away, and then we've got Tadima. It looks like a little bit of a cork in the bottle, if I'm honest with you, because I think Bynum in his Porsche, well, he's getting pretty close to him. Let's get on board. Let's enjoy a little bit of this. Remember, there is no pit window, but one has to be put in so it can be registered on the server, something like that. So Tadima, well. So we've got Porsche on Porsche action. We had a lot of that at Laguna, but obviously the Porsche really suited Laguna, as we should all be well aware. She is quite OP there. Not so much at the nerves, and you've got these two guys absolutely going at it, hammer and tongs, to see who has the bragging rights for being the number one Porsche during the sprint series. Oh dear, who was that there? Someone just really pulled out of the way, didn't catch that. Cameron Martin. Yeah, so Cameron Martin had an issue there in ST Racing in his BMW. Had to really jump out of the way, didn't he? But right, back to these two. That's a nice line through there by Finkbeiner. So that's going to allow him potentially to claw back a few more hundreds. Oh, it's a twitch from Tadima there. So that's a tyre. That's either a tyre issue or that's a slight aero issue with him. As he's pushing hard, he's trying as hard as he can to keep Mika behind him, but for how long? How long can this happen? And is this going to allow, as we saw, that's what I've been waiting for, that massive kick of flames at the back of that Porsche. Absolutely love it. Fantastic. So Michael's still leading. He's got a 1.3 second lead over Eli, who has then got a 7/10 gap back to Keddy. Hughes is only just under 4 tenths behind, as these two are still going for it, as you would expect. So we're coming up to the back straight now, I believe. So it'll be interesting to see how these two handle each other through the chicane. We'll find out in a moment. Chris Schneider's still running in 7th place. Then we've got Goodway. So Goodway's only 8 tenths behind. And John in his Aston, we're going to have to go to that one in a moment, aren't we? Because John Betten in his Aston is only 300. There's an, oh my word, Finkbeiner, blimey. Wow, Finkbeiner. We all saw that, we definitely saw that. You can see, look, watch this. Finkbeiner thinks, I'm going for the lunge, I'm going for it. He committed. Obviously, Tadima had to turn in at some point to take his line. When he did turn in, Finkbeiner was like, well, that isn't going to work, is it? And had to abort. That was a dive bomb of large proportions, shall we say. Right, John, where's John? So John, there we go. Let's have a look at John. So John in his Aston is chasing down Dave Goodway in his McLaren. Now that gap is pretty close, isn't it? So in terms of closest battles we've got on track, I know Hughes is running pretty close behind Keddy. They're not too far away. This is pretty much the closest one. Michael Thomas and Duran are also pretty close, and Payne is close behind them. So we'll go and have a look at that little trio in a moment. But let's just enjoy. Let's enjoy for a little while what John in his dirty, just deep sounding Aston can do. And we'll get on board with Goodway and have a listen to that McLaren as well. I can't help it. I can't help smiling anyway, up to the Schumacher S's. The again, the fact you have to ride those curves slightly, you know, can really unsettle the car very, very quickly. As Keddy's only 3/10 behind Eli at the moment in the battle for second place. I think we better have a quick look at that. As you can see, wow, Keddy, it might be trying to put some pressure on Eli, but I think he's probably going to find there's a little bit more pressure coming from Hughes on the back of him. That's under 2/10 now. Let's look at the FRL. Beautiful, look. I've just realised I don't have my coffee delivery device with me this evening. That is not good. I do apologise, everyone. So Michael's still holding the quickest lap with a 54.670, which is a bit quicker than what he did previously, as you can see. Now, which of these two beasts? And you see the flames popping out the back of the Audi. Which of these two, Audi or BMW, is going to last and handle the nerves better? Who's going to be kinder on their tyres? Because that is going to play a big role, I feel, in this race, given, you know, everybody's got very, very strong pace. So Payne's just pulled a yellow flag down there. So this was the battle I was talking about earlier on. We'll keep our eye on those other doubters. So what we've got running here, let's have a look from the helicam just to get a bigger view from that. So in front, we can see you've got Duran at the front of this train in 10th. Then we've got, Goodway's dropped a couple of places then. So then we've got Evanoff. Oh, we've got a touch in there. They do get back on with it, but Payne looked like he gave John a bit of a tap there, which is unfortunate. That is unfortunate. Or was that Evanoff? It's Evanoff. John's further parking. Yes, that's Evanoff. Excuse me. So Evanoff is the 95 Aston. Sorry, I was thinking it was John for a moment there. And so he's just had a little tap there, but he's managed to keep it on track. So he is now leading a little trio of Payne. Goodway did not look comfortable coming out of that particular corner. You can see that, and that's allowed, I believe, Michael Thomas in his 911. Good number for your Porsche there, Michael. I like your thinking. As Payne and Evanoff have a little door bang. That was definitely a door bang. Was it a big door bang or a little door bang? Let's see. So they're both coming through. They don't want to give an inch. Yeah, okay. Horses for courses, that one, I think, generally speaking. So Eli, Keddy, they're still at it. Hughes is still 4/10. Tadima's holding 5th nicely, but he is now again having pressure put on him, I think, by now. Let's get on board with Michael Thomas. Let's have a look at him. His namesake, by the way, is Michael Races, also called Michael Thomas. So let's see if he brings any of that famous pace to the 911 Porsche that he's driving. So into turn 1. And saw Evanoff flying through there as well, so he's definitely got a better run out there than Payne has in his 23 Bentley. Can he hold it around the outside? No, you're going to run too wide there, but anyway, he's putting the pressure on into the slower stuff. It's all about getting your line right through this part and setting yourself up, coming out of this right-hander, getting on that throttle nice and early. Okay, so again, got very similar paces going on in this race. All good fun, all good races. Okay, the bodywork's not absolutely pristine on everybody's car, but these things happen, don't they? Right, let's go on a bit further. So in terms of positions at the moment, no change in your top 4. It's still Michael, Eli, Keddy and Hughes. Tadima's holding 5th, as I say. Finkbeiner trying to put the pressure on again, so those two Porsches are looking to reignite their squad. Well, Chris Schneider is still in 7th place, but he's almost 5 seconds further down the road. John's trying to claw that one back, actually, and put some more pressure on Chris Schneider in his Aston. He's half a second behind. Then we've got Chica, Duran. We're watching Payne, Evanoff and Goodway at the moment. And then 5 seconds further back, from these individuals, we've got James Williams. Has Michael done another quickest lap? He has. He's just improved again. It's now 54.565. And Keddy and Mr. Hughes look like they swapped places there for a moment and swapped back again. So I'll check once I've run through the rest of the grid. So James Williams 15th place. Van Ries is in 16th, only 8.5 tenths further back. Lurchies is 17th. Kerriquez 18th. Blimey. Wasn't expecting that. Probably got caught up in that instant, I believe, at the start of the race. There was a lot. Easily, I'd say 8 cars were impacted by that turn 1 incident through the middle of the field there, unfortunately. And then we've got Manum in 19th, Sokolov is in 20th in his Lambo, and then we've got Goswell, Dell and Herbold at the moment. Films is 24th, Woodward is 25th, Cameron Martin is 26th, but it looks like he has finished his race by the look of it. So, Keddy and Hughes, they're still at it, aren't they? These two having an absolutely fantastic race, and I bet they're absolutely loving it. It's for the podium. Come on, boys, let's go. So we've got 8 minutes left of this race. It's absolutely flown by. This is the thing, right? On a Tuesday, when I'm getting ready to do the comms, it's like Tuesday, you know, get in the groove, get the mindset, think about where they're driving, what we're going to talk about this evening. And then all of that goes out the window because the racing, because it's a sprint race, there's no tactics involved in this. It's just go. Like, attack for all you're worth and defend for all you're worth. It's brilliant. So Michael Thomas in 12th place is still 3/10 behind Mr. Payne. Have to keep an eye on that. It looks to me that Eddie and Hughes are getting closer to the back of Eli. Michael seems to have checked out front. He's got nearly a 3-second gap back to Eli now. But it does appear that Keddy and Hughes are, I mean, I don't know, they're definitely not working together. Yep, there's no thought of that. But their pace is such that they are, I think, beginning to pull in Eli a little bit. So let's have a look at that Audi. Keddy was actually doing some racing. I think he was doing some LFM racing earlier on today, and was racing with some of the big boys, and I mean the big boys within ACC and esports, and he was well under a second within his lap times, which is really, really cool to see, and I'm sure he will be very happy about that. Although he's not winning this race, I mean, you can't have it, you can't have everything, can you? You can't. Right, Tadim is still running in 5th, so this is a great position to be in. We're on board with Kelly, so we can see how he is trying to hold off lock and load, but look at him, he's all over the back of him. He's trying every trick in the book to put him off, literally every trick in the book to get Kelly to take his eye off the ball just for a second. So that's all. Well, it won't be a second, will it? It'll be a nanosecond, and that's all you've got to need to throw your race completely down the drain. And we've only got 6 minutes left, so concentrate now, boys. All to play for. This is for podium position. So Tadima's now 10 seconds further back. That shows you the pace that this front quartet have. They are now, let's say 10, it's actually almost 11 seconds, the gap back to 5th place. Kelly just holds that throttle nicely. So Hughes has dropped off a little bit, it's now 7/10, so maybe he's just having a lap or two just to bring everything back together so he could do another push. That was Keddy's last step was a 55.222, his best is a 55.162, so you know he's running at, or he's running close to the maximum pace that he can in these current conditions. Tadima still 5th, I think by now, those two, you can't split them, can you? He's still in 6th place, Chris Schneider's still 7th, John's in 8th, Thompson is 9th, and Duran is in the top 10. Everyone's looking pretty nicely gapped at the moment as they start to settle in. There's no settling in, boys, there's only 5 minutes left. Payne's in 11th, Thomas 12th, even off 13th, Goodway's in 14th, Williams has got himself to 15th place. Come on, James. Van Rees is only 3/10 behind him in the Porsche in 16th. Then we've got Pericles 17th, Lurch is 18th, Manum 19th, and Sokolov at 20th. Then we've got Dow, Goswell, Herbort, and again, I think if I just check the time screens, we've then got Wilms, Woodward, and as I've said before, Cameron is in the pit. So let's get on for a different battle. Let's get on with another Porsche. This is Michael Van Rees in the 57 Porsche. You remember last week at Laguna was, you know, in and around the podiums, and I mean really had some absolutely epic racing last week with him. Finds himself battling with James Williams in his 41 FRL liveried AMG, and these two have been pretty close for quite a while. Let's have a look at the detail underneath the AMG. It's just seeing the lights reflecting off the bottom there. Oh, James has got new pedals. Oh, it's got Huskies according to the back of his Merc there. As they go through the chicane, we've got some dust being kicked up. That's no doubt from probably Goodway in front. So remember, Dave was having a really good race at the start, and I think he probably got himself into an incident. I'm not saying he caused himself an incident. Evidently something happened there because he has been falling off. Maybe the tyres aren't in the right window, but again we've got more dust being kicked up there. So again, that would suggest that Goodway's may be driving with a little bit of damage. Obviously there's no real point in coming in and getting that fixed, because I mean then your race is completely gone. He's just trying to limp her home, and we've only got 3 minutes left, so he's only got a couple of laps in which to do that. James didn't take quite a bit of pace through the chicane there. We saw Van Ries in his Porsche definitely carried a lot more speed through. Looks like he's got a better exit as well. Just backs off a little bit there. It might have been a little bit to do with a bit of internet connection. Michael's still winning. Eli, Keddy and Hughes, no change in your top 4, no change in your top 6. As we're watching, oh, is he going to? He's got a good line through there. So these two really battling, aren't they? Really battling for this position. And we're only talking about 15th place. I'll say this again, you know, this for 15th place. I mean, it doesn't really matter, does it? It's just the fact that they are both not giving a quarter. And I know they're both driving, looking very sweaty and probably, you know, not like they would be on their wedding day. And they're huffing and puffing, but I'm telling you they're smiling. Even if they're saying some not so nice things to the other person in this battle, that they will be smiling, because look at it, it's absolutely brilliant. As they come down again, we're going to get a move done or not? Apparently not. So it would appear that James has the pace in that McLaren, in that Mercedes, to keep Van Ries behind. It's a question of making sure he places the car in the right place. As Thompson's had an off, it looks like. Oh, he has, yeah. So Chica's had an incident, unfortunately, in the 55 McLaren there. That is a shame. So he's lost a couple of places from that. Right, let's get in the Mercedes and let's have a watch. Let's watch James. Let's see what's going on with his steering wheel. I think he's got to be careful with that. Van Ries definitely carrying more speed. He's definitely more confident in his Porsche going through that chicane than what James is. But I think James is also just thinking, well, A, I don't want to bin it. Why would you? Nobody does. But also, we've only probably got 1 lap left of this race. So I just want to keep the guy behind me who is absolutely rapid. And I don't blame him for thinking like that. So Michael races. Let's just go to the front and have a look. See if there's anything doing. So Eli's still in second, Keddy's only half a second, and then Hughes is only half a second as well. So although Michael, you're having a fantastic race as usual, I'm leaving you. I'm going to get on board with Keddy. The sandwich isn't quite close enough, is it? And then just further back we've got Tadema still having this epic scrap with Finkbeiner, which has been going on all race long. But again, I've said this to you guys earlier on, in terms of outright pace, Finkbeiner, I think, is a real challenger. Tadema, I'm not saying... No, that isn't his new saying. Rick is quick, as Michael finishes the race. I need to finish what I'm going to say here first. We'll go and talk about them in a moment, as they look like they're going to come up towards the start-finish line. Finkbeiner, remember, he actually ended up... He went off the track earlier, and he's come back. Look at that. He couldn't get a closer finish than that. Well done, boys. Anyway, let's actually give you some actual finishing places. Michael races, congratulations, takes the first win for this evening. Eli in second place, well done Eli, great race from you. Keddy only finished under 3/10 behind, so well done to you three. And JR, fabulous pace, my friend, and an excellent race there, well done to you in fourth place. Tadema and Finkbeiner, we just saw having that ridiculously epic battle all the way to the finish line, nose to tail. Chris Schneider, 7th place. John's finished in 8th. Duran in the Lamborghinis finished 9th. I'm really impressed with that. Very impressed with that, considering what happened to him last week. Thompson's finished 10th, even though he had a bit of a stricken McLaren there. Payne's 11th, with Michael Thomas in his Porsche finishing 12th, so well done to you. Literally just a smidge behind you. You can see that 500s. Even off 13th, Goodway's 14th. James Williams managed to hold on to 15th place in front of Van Ries there. We were watching that pretty cool battle for a little while. Kerriker's 17th, Manon finished in 18th, Lurchie's 19th, and then a bit further down the grid we've got Dow's come across. Has Dow finished yet? Where's Dow? Come on, Dow. Let's get across the line. So Dow's just crossed the line now in 20th. Sokolov not too far behind. You can see Sokolov there 6/10 behind in 21st. Goswell's currently 22nd with Herbold 23rd. And then Wilms 24th. Woodward 25th. Cameron Martin 26th. Wow. What can I say? What can I say? Not much I can say, is there really? Right, we shall return to the garage. Lots of nice comments going on there. We'll have a look at what's going on in our live chat. What's everybody got to say? Not much at the moment. Oh, you've all left me. Oh, that's a shame. Ah, Vartox didn't seem to be too happy there. Yeah, okay, so evidently, as happens, you know, especially when you're in a sprint race environment, people can get a little bit hot under the collar. I get that. It happens. And, yeah, Thinkbiner's just saying at the bottom there, what a fight to DMAT. What a fight that was. Let's see if they can replicate that in race 2. Now, remember, that isn't it. We're not finished. We're now going to have another 10-minute qualifying session, and then we're going to pop in and have another 25-minute sprint race. So, we're by no means done this evening, but the pace, you know, Michael's pace, Eli, Keddy, Hughes, I'm going to put Thinkbiner in there. I think if Tadema can increase his pace a little bit, you have to look at that though. Tadema was 17 seconds behind the front four. That's not a big gap, that's a huge gap. And I know he was fighting, so his concentration would have been more behind him on Mika than it would have been on front, but that's a big gap. Right, so let's see what happens. Race 2 is coming up. I need to have a little bit of a drink. So, it hasn't changed over as yet. I'm sure it will in a moment. Yeah, that was a crazy race. Again, very good race. Do you know what? If there just wasn't that incident at the beginning, that could have been like just a really tight pack for the entire race, apart from the top 4 or 5, and that would have been very interesting to see. But we may get that in race 2 if we ever get into qualifying. So anyone that hasn't been with us before, this is the Formula Racing League Super Sprint Series. It's a Tuesday evening, it runs every Tuesday. It's this season 1, round 6. I believe there's one more left to go in this series. We've been treated some really fantastic racing so far this season, and tonight is no different. It is just absolute push. Right, as we go into Q2, we have to see who's out first. Kerriquez is going to take his Honda out. See, I think the drivers are getting a bit savvy to how I normally do the comments, because they know if they get out first, I'm going to give them a bit more airtime because they're out first. Maybe that's what it is, who knows, but that is a lovely Honda. I think I want to have a little listen to that Honda, don't you? Nice. Very nice. Right, so we've got Q2 going to happen now. I'm not sure if something's gone on with the internet on this end or not. But, if nothing has happened to the internet, it's quite sad, isn't it, for a Tuesday evening? So, Formula Racing, remember, this is qualifying for race 2. We've just had a 25-minute sprint race. There are 2 that happen on this particular evening. The next one, obviously qualifying, will also be done in pitch black. So that's another challenge to throw into the mix for all of our drivers. One which I'm sure they're going to enjoy. But once this is done, we will have another 25-minute race, which is fantastic for everybody. So let's get an appreciation of what Kerikes can or can't see. And you know, when we're all sort of trying to better ourselves and we're doing our research into sim racing or racing in general, how can you get quicker, the steps you should take, you know, always taught to look as far ahead as possible. So you're always focused on the next thing that's happening rather than what's directly in front of your face. Yeah, that's how you should be. That's how your vision should be when you're driving a car, race car. But you can't really, I mean, in the section it's not too bad, but you can't see a lot in front of you, can you? So a lot of this is to do with intimate track knowledge, it's going to be to do with muscle memory. There's a lot of things going on there, but more importantly, it also shows the real importance of when you are training, yeah, when you're practicing, when you're training, when you're trying things out, is when you're getting to learn the tracks, you've really got to make sure that those markers are not things that can get knocked out of the way. Because if they're not there, well, where's your turning point? Where's your braking point? You know, all these things which are paramount to you getting around the lap as quick as possible and as safely as possible. So it's always a bit of a lesson when it's a night race or a wet race, just to make sure you've got those markers that are actually static. You know, so something on the ground, or a bridge, or a post, or a bit of the wall that's a slightly different colour, whatever it is. But again, in a night race, that becomes a little bit more challenging in itself, doesn't it? That is the fun. That is the challenge of it. Right, so that's warm-up lap completed. 100% sure we're on a push lap at the moment as we're coming up towards the chicane. Get on the brakes. Go on, trust it. Throw it in. Just throw it in. Go on, Kerikes. Let's have a good time out, you mate. Late on the brakes, I think, there a little bit. Manages to pick up that throttle though. Bit of oversteer. You saw the car. You could feel with your eyes. You can feel the back end was stepping out in there. What's Kerikes going to do? A 57.587. So first time of this qualifying session has been set by Attila Kerikes in his Honda, but immediately Mr. Hughes pops in a 54.715, and I think JR has found himself a nice little groove at the moment. Chris Schneider's popped a time in 1.2 off the pace there. That was a 55.992. Goodway's not put a time in yet. Thompson's just put a time in of a 57.567, so it puts himself up into 4. Excuse me for a moment. As Herbert looks like he's just had a yellow flag then, so he's had an off somewhere and gone straight back to the pit. So Eli's popped a time in. So are we going to see a familiar? Are we going to see a familiar look to the grid? Who knows? You would assume you would do. It's generally the way that it works. So Kerikes, why is he showing there like that? Don't know why that's showing up. Right, so Hughes is still running Keddy, right. Well, you remember in the last sprint race, Keddy was just in front of Hughes, wasn't he? Yeah, I mean, just a couple of tenths for pretty much the entire race. Well, Keddy is now just behind him. 37 hundredths to be precise. Eli finds himself third, Chris Schneider fourth. Betton's put a decent time in there to go fifth at the moment. Manon's sixth, Cameron Martin seventh, Thompson is eighth, 2.8 seconds off the pace. And we've got Kerikes and Lurches are your top 10. Lurches, when you go in the pits, if you come back on and have a, if you come back into the stream, I'd love to know if that was your PB. Michael Races is coming to the chat. Starting from the back, I have 0 viewers. Everyone's watching Jardier. I would probably tend to agree with you there, Michael, because I currently have only got 3. But I'm very grateful for the 3, which is you, me, my cat's mate. It happens, doesn't it? You've got Jardier, tractions in unlucky. I don't know if that's who that's for, whether that's for Michael or me. But yeah, if you haven't pressed like, ladies and gents, please do. At least then I know that I can give somebody some comfort whilst Jardier's on. And I know Dowkin's got his community races on tonight as well, hasn't he? So everyone's probably in there. Don't know who Traction Dave is. I heard once upon a time that he used to drive simulation machinery and used to be quite quick at it for about 2 laps, and then usually resurface a barrier or something like that. I know he was an angry man, let's put it that way. Emotional. Well, do you know what? You guys carry on. At least those two are having a really good laugh in the live chat amongst themselves, which is fantastic. Yeah, it's quite disappointing with the numbers there, isn't it, really? I've not ever really had that, especially for the sprint series. I mean, this is like crazy racing. It's normally got a load of people in, but anyway. So, Hughes is still top of the tree with a 54.715. Kenny's just behind. 37 thousandths. Finkbeiner's got himself up to 3rd. Expected that. 3 tenths. And Eli's then 4th. So Eli is 30. Well, that is ridiculous. So the gap between 1st and 2nd is 37 thousandths. The gap between 3rd and 4th is 37 thousandths. I love it when we get these weird patterns develop. Chris Schneider's doing really well in 5th. Cameron Martin 6th at the moment. John 7th in the pits. And Duran 8th. Kerikes 9th. Manern 10th. Although Tadimo's just popped himself into 7th place, so he's decided he wants to join the parties. Keddy's got a yellow flag down there. See if Goswell has any better luck in this second qualifying and race. We've only got a minute left to qualify, so I need to run through this quickly. Manern's 11th, Payne's in 12th, Goodway 13th, Lurches is 14th, Evanoff is currently 15th, Thompson's now 17th, so Van Rees has put himself up into 13th place. So we've got Woodward, Herbert, Dow, Goswell 21st, Sokolov 22nd, Caskanova's in 23rd place, i.e. Vilms, and where else have we got? Why is that all jumbled up? Well, that's massively jumbled up there, which doesn't help me at all. And so Wilms 23rd. So if I go back to the live chat and see if Michael and Traction are still bickering. Yes, they are. Brilliant. Yeah. Well, that's all I can think of. Best mates with Barry. Who's Barry R? Oh, Jesus Christ. Dear, oh dear. They are having a right old laugh over there, aren't they? Or, as normal people would say, laugh. Because I'm not from that part of the country. So qualifying is coming to a finish. Is Keddy? No, Keddy can't challenge Hughes. He's in the pits. We've got 8 seconds left. So JR's going to cross the line. Flag drops now. JR crosses the line with a 54.712. That is his quickest lap of the session. So well done to you, Mr. JR. 3 thousandths quicker than the one prior to that, so he's eked that gap out to 400ths now. So Finkbeiner, he's got into the pits. So Eli, where's Eli? Could spoil the party. Does Eli spoil the party? No. James Williams, yellow flag. Unfortunate. Okay. Wow. That was a fantastic session as well, wasn't it? I was going to say Eli couldn't spoil the party, but Eli can, and currently has spoiled the party. He's gone 500ths quicker than JR, who, remember, just did his quickest lap of the session previously. So he's on his final lap. He crossed the line with about a second to spare, so he's got the best track conditions at the moment, and let's see if he can utilise that. He needs to find a bit more than 500, so he needs to find 51 thousandths would be enough to stick him on pole position. Otherwise, he's going to have to settle for second place. What's he going to do? Is he going to do it? Dark in it, guys and girls. Let's get on board. Is he going to do it? That's the question. The rest of the grid looks pretty set. This is it, final corner. Is he going to get on the traction quick enough? He's squeezing that throttle on there. Is it going to be enough? Let's have a look. Can he improve? He needs 51 thousandths to take pole position. He does. Look at that. Bosh. Well done. Fantastic lap, JR. Fantastic lap with a 54.357. Takes pole position with literally the last part of the qualifying. So well done to you. Again, fantastic session. Sets it up very, very nicely for what's going to happen. So, Hughes on pole position, congratulations. Eli second, Keddy's third, Finkbeiner's fourth, Chris Schneider's fifth, Martin is sixth, Tedima's going to start seventh, Goodway eighth, John is going to start ninth with Durand again in the top 10, so well done to you. Kerikes in the Honda 11th, Famry's 12th, Manham's going to be 13th, Payne 14th, Lurchie's 15th, Ivanov 16th. Those three, Payne, Lurchies and Ivanov, can't really seem to get them away from each other at the moment, so that's probably going to be a good scrap. Thompson 17th, Williams 18th, Woodward's in 19th, Dow's 20th at the moment, Vilms is 21st, Herbert 22nd, Goswell 23rd in that AMG, Sokolov 24th, Michael Races 25th, Michael Thomas, did you see that? Michael Thomas 26th. Now, only the people that know what we're talking about will know what I'm talking about. So Michael's going to start from the back. Is he going to go for some epic last to first? No, he's not. It's not possible. It's a 25-minute sprint race. The speed of the guys in front of him will be too much. Now, is he going to do a last to top 10 finish? Maybe. Maybe yes. I would say that is doable. Podium's going to be pushing it. Those top 5 are... I've got good solid pace around here, so there's the challenge. It's been thrown down. So we've got 4 back over again. Obviously they've finished watching Jardier, which I don't blame. It's obviously more entertaining here. Joking. I could pretend to drive whilst I do the commentary if that helps. But we are going to see... No, we don't want autopilot. No, we don't. So we're in the wait time, last 30 seconds, and then we will do exactly what we did last time out. We are going to do a full formation lap, let everyone get everything warmed up and in the window, and then we're going to absolutely crack on with another 25-minute sprint race. Now, the first one was more than entertaining. I think you'll find really, really good battles going on up and down the field, which is what we expect given this particular format, and I'm looking forward to another one to round the night out, really. Right, anybody flashing? Anyone flashing on the grid? Right, ladies and gents, formation lap is underway in the very, very dark Nurburgring. If you're wondering, well, how can these guys see? This is what they can see. I mean, enough in this section. It's not too bad if you're following. But if you're the lead car, we get onto the back section of the track. It's pretty dark down there. So you can hear everyone's dragging their brakes. You can hear JR is just looking at him in second gear. He is dragging those brakes. I would be surprised if they're not amber, but that's fine. He just wants to make sure. Just prepping the car. Keddy dragging his brakes. You can see, look, Eli's dragging his brakes in front as well. Oh, come on, boys. I think by now, is he going to have an epic second race like he did last week. Not that his first race was bad. I think Chris Schneider's going to have something to say about that as well. I mean, he's shown really good pace, well, since I've been commentating on this particular series. I just feel he's a tiny bit of consistency or a bit of luck, probably a combination of both, of being, again, a solid top 5, top 4, 5 challenger, to be fair. Wow, that's a record, ladies and gentlemen. If you're watching this stream back, this is the moment when you need to press like and subscribe, because let me tell you, there's nobody watching. It's the first time that's ever happened in 10 months of doing commentary. Wow, fair enough. I mean, I know it is only in the formation lap, but we do try here. So Mr. Hughes, there we go, we're coming around to complete this formation lap. Eli's in second, Keddy, that's going to be a really interesting battle there. And we've seen Finkbeiner in his Porsche, he is not shy to make a move. He really is not shy to throw it. Look at that train behind of lights again, and burst of flames. I absolutely love this simulator. It is so awesome. Let's do it a bit different. Let's stay on board like this. Let's see the scrap for the top 4 unfold, because there's no one watching, so I can watch what I like. Okay, so through the chicane, all formed up 2 by 2. Everybody's ready to go. Enjoy, ladies and gents. This is a race 2 from our Super Sprint series on Tuesday evening, round 6 at the Nurburgring. Race 1 was absolutely fantastic. I have a feeling this one is going to be just as eventful. Hopefully not into turn 1. So let's get on board. So we are go. I think Finkbeiner is already all over the back of Eli, as you can see. As we head down now towards the start-finish straight. Are we going to see contact? Are we going to see any contact behind us? They're all compiling in. They're all... Was that Tadima turned around Cameron Martin there? You can see there is now a big traffic jam there as we get on board the back of Tadima, and he gets tagged again. Who just tagged him that time? Is that Cameron Martin? Oh dear. Wow, there's going to be some unhappy people, I think. No, that looked like James Williams actually. So, incidents aplenty. Yeah, that is James there in his 41 AMG. So there are incidents going on. So Mr. Hughes ends. Well, he keeps hold of the lead of this race currently. So he's out up front at the moment, leading from Eli. Then we've got Keddy. And then we've got Finkbeiner. So no change in your top 4. All top 5. Chris Schneider's kept 5th place nicely. Dave Goodway's moved his way up quite nicely there, though, hasn't he? So he's got himself up to 6th place. Then we've got John, Duran, and Cameron Martin. Michael Races is already up to 10th place. Let's see how he's enjoying the mid-pack. So there's his targets in front of him. He's got quite a lot of them. This could be quite a fun race, though. That's that Cameron Martin in front. It is Cameron Martin in front. So Cameron's all over the back of Serkan Duran in the 100 Lamborghini. He's pushing hard there, isn't he? See if he can get a move done as they come into the chicane yet again. So Hughes, Poe, Keddy, Finkbeiner, Chris Schneider, Goodway, Benton. We've got Duran just in front of us. We're on board with Cameron Martin at the moment. Michael Races, starting from last, remember, has got himself up to 10th. Ivanov's in 11th. Lurchie's 12th. Thompson's in 13th. Dow's 14th. Films is up to 15th. I'm sure he'll be happy with that, and he's got to endure that battle. And I've got to have a look at that in a moment. Cameron Martin sets himself up potentially for a dive down the inside of Duran. Wasn't quite close enough to make that one stick, so thinks better of it. Takes the racing line, which is important through this sort of twisty, slower section of the track. But as you can see, just coming into your background there at the bottom of the picture, Michael Races is getting ever closer to these guys, and I'm sure he is, well, I don't know where he wants to fit. Who's that? Oh, Someone's just had an off there. John's had an off. John's had a big off in his Aston. So you just saw him going sideways into the wall. So he's dropped himself down to 10th place, which means Duran is got into 7th place. So fantastic. Well done you. Goodway just in front there, chasing down Chris Schneider. Now I do believe, if we think back to the last race, excuse me, I've got something in my eye, and it's not an eyeball. Well, it is an eyeball. But, in the last race, these two were also very close together. Until there was an incident. So let's see, well, they're obviously renewing that acquaintance, aren't they? And they're not too far behind Dave Goodway. Dave Goodway fancying a little piece of Chris Schneider here. Just taking a slightly different angle to get onto the power earlier. So McLaren versus BMW in the run up towards the chicane. Who's going to come better off from that? And Michael Races makes the move on Cameron Martin, finds himself now up to 8th place. So nicely done through there. So in the rear view mirror of Goodway, you can see Duran. You can just see the livery on that Lamborghini, and then the one behind is Michael Races. Your man is just... he's on it. So Hughes is still winning this race, and he's just done a 54.682, fastest lap of the race. We're on board a Goodway at the moment in 6th, challenging Chris Schneider for 5th place as we come into T1. Chris Schneider goes defensive on the inside, and Dave, that was a nice switcheroo there. So he gets on the power nice and early. Can he hold that around the outside? No, he can't. But again, he's just trying. He's just really trying to get that BMW out of shape. But again, as we said before many times, these two are scrapping really hard, and that has pulled Duran right onto the back of both of them. He's now in a position to challenge as Goodway manages to get a move done on Chris Schneider. That has left the door open to the Lamborghini of Duran. Is he going to make his way through that? I thought he was going to try and nip at the inside. Thinks better of it, so he can live to fight another day. And Chris Schneider finds himself under all sorts of pressure now, because not only has he got to worry about Duran, as we see someone going really wide there at the bottom. I think that was Cameron Martin again. We've got Michael Races, who's up the inside of Duran. That move's going to happen pretty soon. Like, little door knock there between those two. So Duran's going to try and hold the inside line as we're coming up to the left-hander. But no, Michael's already got ahead of him through the Schumacher S's. So Chris Schneider now has to contend with your de facto fastest driver normally. Obviously started at the back. He's got himself up to 7th place already. So some great fighting going on here. And then a little bit further back, let's not forget, we've got John having this great scrap with Ivanov and Cameron Martin. So we've got a lot of stuff going on at the front of the grid. So Mr. Hughes is still leading. He's got a 1.3 second lead now over Eli, which I think you could say is comfortable at this stage of the race. Eli is far from comfortable though. Keddy's only, wow, Keddy's closer than that. Keddy's right on the back of Eli as we get onto the start-finish straight. So this could most definitely turn into a move. As you can see them down heavy into the braking zone, both trading in, both trying to get the right angle there, and Eli would appear, he took the deeper, wider line in. Keddy tried to take a more acute inside line. They've both come out exactly as they are, so there is more than one way to skin a cat, as we know. Nothing's changed with regards to these two at this stage. So as you were, I think by now he has not given up the ghost either. Only 1.4 behind. Then we've got Goodway, Chris Schneider, Michael Races. So those two, Chris Schneider and Michael Races, have closed right up onto the back of Dave Goodway, and it looks like Mr. Races is getting ready to shape up a move. BMW versus BMW. So Duran's still running 8th, John's 9th, Cameron Martin running 10th. There's your top 10, and the gap between John and Cameron again is only sort of half a second there. Oh, Dave gets in a little bit out of shape there. You saw that. The McLaren in front of these two definitely had to overcorrect. Ivanov's 11th. Thompson is 2 tenths behind him in 12th. And then we've got Lurchie's, Manum, Payne, Michael Thomas in his Porsche 16th. Tadema's 17th. We saw Tadema got involved in all sorts of issues at the start of the race, unfortunately. Dow's 18th, Wilms 19th, Herbert's 20th. James Williams also was caught up in an incident with Tadema, I think turn 2 or turn 3, finds himself down in 21st. Harry Goswell definitely definitely wants to forget this one this evening. Definitely not a favourite of his. Chris Schneider pulls over. That isn't really defensive because that's going to allow Michael to go clearly up the inside, which he does. Michael takes, takes an unorthodox line through the chicane now, I would say, and probably doing a bit of horticultural stuff. But yes, up another place. Michael's up to 6th. Next target in front is Dave Goodway. So Eli and Keddy still neck and neck. Again, this is for 2nd and 3rd place. You can see just behind Keddy's Audi, we've got that rather striking liveried Porsche, the 220 Porsche of Mika Finkbeiner. He is not out of this at all yet. So we were down to 14th Manor, 15th Payne, 16th we had Thomas, and then Tadema 17th, Down Williams, Herbert Williams. Again, Goswell not had a great evening today. Must be track and car combo, and maybe hasn't really driven on the nerves. You can't take for granted that people have driven all of the tracks. You can't do that. Sokolov is 23rd at the moment, and then in 24th place we've got Neil Woodward. Kerikez is 25th. Van Rees, well, Van Rees and Kerikez are both in the pits, so it looks like their race is done. Now I want to move off this because there is a great battle at the front. There's lots of great battles going on here. If we go back to this little scrap, we've got Duran, Chris Schneider in 7th, Duran 8th, John in 9th place. So we've got some fantastic racing going on, front and back. So we'll keep an eye on these three. Goes a little bit deep there, does Duran. That's definitely going to give John an opportunity to get alongside. John takes the opportunity and swoops round the outside of Serkan Duran there. Yeah, I think he probably just over-egged it slightly, maybe missed his braking or turning point. Not by much. It wasn't massively wide, but you could see he was off the line, and that's all that needs to happen. But look at him fighting back as they go through the chicane. Blimey. Come on, chaps, let's do it. So he's really fighting back. We're on board with Duran at the moment. He's got back through. He's managed to get back through from John in the Aston. So really, really good racing going on between these guys. And all whilst this is happening, we've got this chap, Cameron Martin, and he's just sat behind them in 10th place. He's hoping he can pick up a couple of places quite easily. As you can see, those two going really defensive into turn 1. So John and Serkan having a fantastic race. Absolutely brilliant race. John's got past him again. So these guys are just swapping over left, right and centre. It's absolutely awesome at the top. We've still got no change. So we've got Hughes, Poe, Keddy, Finkbeiner. Dave's still in 5th place. Michael Races is now only a 10th, just under 2/10, sorry, behind Goodway. So that may be just a matter of time. No, according to my other timing screen, Michael Races has made the move on Goodway. So Michael's up to 5th. Can he chase down a podium? Because they're all together, aren't they? The podium guys, they are nose to tail. So if he can push, put some laps in, he's only 6 seconds behind. That's doable. How long have we got left? 14 minutes left. That's doable. Watch this space, as they say. Right, so Cameron, who we've been watching at the moment with John and Duran, having a fantastic race. And then not far back from them, Ivanov and Thompson. Let's have a look at these two as well. Looks, we've got more battles. Literally, you look on your left-hand side of the screen, you've got battles everywhere. Keddy's only 2/10 off the back of Eli. Look, these two are absolutely nose to tail again now. We'll have to keep an eye on this one. Too many battles, not enough eyes at the moment. So Thompson in 12th, still half a second behind Ivanov. Then we've got a gap back, 4 seconds back to Lurchies. Manham's only a second. Then we've got Payne and Michael Thomas. Ooh, in 15th and 16th, they're having a good scrap as well as we go into T1. Keddy goes deep down the outside. He's looking for a switchback. Definitely looking for a switchback. Eli just positioned that BMW beautifully there, as he does again. He's just making sure that car is nice and wide. He's not giving Keddy any opportunity. Just making sure the door is closed just enough each time, as you can see. That's going to be frustrating Keddy quite a lot, actually. Not that he's a cool customer, is Keddy, but still going to be frustrating because whilst this is happening, as Keddy's weaving all over the back of him, whilst this is going on, well, we all know what else is happening because Finkbeiner is catching up. He is catching up, isn't he? So fantastic racing again. JR seems to have checked out a little bit at the moment. He's quite comfortable in the lead. Poe isn't thinking about JR. Poe is thinking about Keddy and Finkbeiner, because when you've got 3 individuals that quick, all this close together, things could change very quickly. So if we jump on the back of Keddy for a moment. So now Keddy's in that awful predicament where he's in the sandwich, isn't he? He's trying to attack Eli and put pressure on Eli, but he's having to defend for his life. Who's 24? 24, I couldn't see the number on that one. But he's having to defend for his life from Finkbeiner, who we know, if there's a chance for a move, he's going to send it. He will send it. So, good luck to them. Although I think Finkbeiner took a little bit longer to get past that back marker then, so it's now dropped off the back of those two for a moment, which is going to be very, very welcome respite for them. So now Kelly can probably now start to focus a little bit more on Eli rather than looking in his mirrors too much. But again, fantastic pace from Mika. It's fantastic pace. John's only 2:10. Where was that? So John and Duran, Chris Schneider, these two are still coming into T1. Let's see. So you can see John's gone to the outside line there. Chris Schneider's gone defensive, but again, he's just probably held off on the accelerator slightly, because that's going to then cause John, well, he can't accelerate, can he, if there's something in front of him, so he's going to back off the accelerator, and that's going to give Chris Schneider a tiny little advantage through those slower corners there, which will be enough just to keep his nose in front, which you can see is exactly what's been happening now. Lurchies, where's Lurchies? Lurchies. Wow, ladies and gents, let's have a look at this one, shall we? So Lurchies in his Bentley, he's got Michael Thomas in the Porsche behind him, and just in front of him, is that Manum? No, it's Tadima, Manum and Payne. So again, we've got a real opportunity here for a nice little group all to come together. There's got to be a move. Definitely got to be a move coming up, as Tadima looks to try and put a move onto Manum. Manum's defending quite nicely there. So there goes Payne, Manum, Tadima, followed by Lurchies and Thomas. They're all having a nice scrap, aren't they? What's the gap between 4th and 5th? That's what I want to know. It's down to 5.4 seconds. That's Michael and Finkbeiner. That was 6 seconds. It's now down to 5.4. However, we've had a further 4.5 minutes of racing. So I did say I didn't think the top 4 would be doable at the start. Yeah, I know I said he could maybe do 6 seconds, but those guys at the front are quick. They are quick. We've got sparks flying everywhere. We've got some fantastic battles going on here. So Tadima again looking to see if he's up the inside into the last corner against Manum. So he's got the run. Manum's going to have to yield that one, and he does. If we go a little bit further back. So Lurchies is having a right old little battle, isn't he? With Michael Thomas in his Porsche. Let's see how this one shapes out as they go through T1. Definitely a better drive out there from Mr. Thomas, as you would expect in the Porsche, but Lurchies, he had a better line after coming out of T1, so he's held that. Just needs to stay on the inside, which he does do. He's going to try. Ooh, no, he's let him through. He's opened the door up a little bit there. Michael obviously goes through, and then Lurchies is on the inside, so he holds that. Good driving, boys. I like it a lot, and you can see just in front going into that left-hander, Manum and Tadima, their battle hasn't finished either, so you've got people swooping all over this track in really, really good little fights. But up top, Mr. Hughes is still winning, Eli is still second, Keddy is still third, and then Finkbeiner is still 4th. I think Michael races, fantastic effort to go from last up to 5th. Don't think he's getting any higher than that. Goodway, aka Crazy, is in 6th. Chris Schneider 7th. John is still with him. It's under 4 tenths in 8th place. Then we've got Cameron Martin 6.3 further back in 9th. Thompson is 10th. Another 3 seconds further down. Then we've got even off Payne, Tadima, Manum, who've been watching, having a great scrap with Lurchies. Manums have been having a great scrap with Tadema. We're watching Lurchies and Michael Thomas at the moment, so we've got the Bentley of Lurchies and the Porsche of Thomas. They've been having a fantastic battle for probably the last 3 or 4 laps. They're still at it. Dow's in 17th, Wilms is 18th at the moment, Herbert 19th, Goswell's in 20th. Wow, he's in the top 20, that's good enough. Then we've got Sokolov 21st, Woodward, Williams, Kerrikes and Van Rees are all in the pits, and looks like their evening is done. And I mean, we did see there were some big incidents at the beginning. So Lurchies went too deep there into the Coca-Cola curve. He's trying to come back across, but Michael's already got that move done. So Lurchies now going to tuck in behind him, try and get a bit of a tow, see if that's going to help him at the end. I don't think it will at this particular moment. And it's now a question: does Michael Thomas actually have more pace in that Porsche than what Lurchies does in the Bentley? So we're going to see if he can pull away. And Manum, at the battle between Manum and Tadema, you can see in front of there, that looks like it is cooled slightly as well. Okay, don't try and catch him too hard, Lurchies. Just keep your lap times good. Just aim for your braking points and your turning points, buddy. Don't worry about Thomas too much. Otherwise you'll do what we all do and you'll try too hard. Right, so further down the grid, John's still in that battle, isn't he? Oh dear. So Keddy and Eli part of 58 this evening. There's only 2.5 tenths between them, as there has been for pretty much most of the race. The other closest battle we've got is John and Chris Schneider. They're still together, 6 tenths between those two, but without a doubt, this is where it's at the moment. Keddy and Eli have been at this for many laps. We've only got 5.5 minutes left of this race. I'm sure Keddy is keen to get a move done. When Eli just flies in there, but knows he's going to have the inside line. All he's got to do is take the middle of the track. That's going to force Keddy the long way round. They're both having to be patient here on the throttle as we go through the slower part of the track. Eli goes deep in there, deeper there. Keddy had to back out. If it was, there would definitely have been contact. So that was fantastic situational awareness from him there. But then he goes wide. I think he's done that to get a run. He has got a run. He's got alongside him, as you can see. So they are absolutely side by side as they come down. So Keddy eventually gets the move done. So Keddy now finds himself a smidge in front of Eli. Eli's also now got a problem because Finkbeiner, well, these two are scrapping that hard. I mean, they are now... what can I say? What can I say? It's 4 and a bit minutes left to go, and they are all absolutely together, which is amazing. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. So, congratulations, JR. You just keep it on the track, mate. That is all yours and well deserved. These three are scrapping it out for the podium. And to be fair, if Eli and Keddy weren't scrapping that hard, that they probably could have kept ahead of Finkbeiner quite comfortably. But you can see how close he is as he pulls out from behind him in the run up towards the chicane now. So Keddy's stretching his legs. Eli is now busy trying to deal with Finkbeiner. I think Eli's going to be getting quite annoyed of having to spend most of his race defending some way or another. And I think Keddy's just quite happy to have the freedom to get going again. As they come round onto the start-finish straight. What we got left? Not long, ladies and gents. Michael Races still in 5th place at the moment. Fastest lap is still being held by JR Lockerlow at 1:54.620. Michael is still 5 seconds further back from this battle. If only, if only. Goodway's holding 6th place. Fantastic from him. It's well done, you crazies. Johnny's still 7th. John's got past Chris Schneider then, so that was a 6/10 gap the other way. So that move's been done. Well done, John. I'm sure Chris Schneider's going to try and have a nibble back before the end of the race. Cameron Ratid's holding 9th, and Ian Thompson is still in 10th place. I'm sure he's going to be very happy with the top 10 result. Given what you guys and girls are seeing about just how quick and competitive the driving is. As we go back on board with Finkbeiner then in his pursuit, hot pursuit of Eli. Come on, Eli, you've only got 2 minutes, 45 seconds until the flag drops. That's all you've got. So Thompson's in 10th. Evanoff's had a good race actually in 11th place, as has Payne. It's been a nice solid race from him. Tadema in 13th is now only half a second behind him, so I'm going to keep an eye on that delta. Mano's still doing 14th, Thomas 15th. He's pulled a 1.5 second gap over Lurches. Remember, we were watching that really good battle for a few laps a little while ago. Dow's in 17th. Wilms is still running in 18th place. Herbert 19th. Goswell 20th. And Sokolov is still running 21st. And the last of our runners, we've got a few sat in the pits at the moment, which is, you know, like I said, there were some quite big incidents happening at the start of the race, so I get that. As long as you're all in here watching me. No, you're not. Muzitaf Brand, hello Muzitaf, how are you doing? Glad that you've popped in to say hi. Who are you supporting? Let me know, or if it's your first time watching us, that's all good, mate. Let us know. So as the race continues at a pace, so I think Biner's dropped off a little bit now, which, I mean, Keddy's not going to be happy with that, is he? Because will. They're very evenly gapped now. It's sort of 6-7 tenths between them, so that's going to take quite a lot for that to come down. Michael's now only 4 seconds behind these three, but he's not got long enough. We've got 1 minute 21 seconds until the flag drops. So your closest battle is Tadema. Let's get on board with Rick. So Rick is coming to put some pressure on Mr. Payne in his all black Bentley, and it just in front, I think we've got Evanoff in the Aston. So Tadema could, if he's patient enough, could potentially claim a couple of spots here, which would be very good damage limitation from what happened at the beginning. So, and we know he's got pace. We know he's got pace. He finished 5th in the last race. I think he qualified 7th for this race. So we know that Rick's definitely got some good speed. Just unlucky with those incidents at the start there. Right, lock and load. If you're clever, you've got 6 seconds. Just slow it down, 15 seconds. And you'll win the race now. 10. Come on. What's he going to do? He's got to cross the line, isn't he? I wouldn't be crossing the line right now. Come on, slow it down. 1. Flag's gone. Win the race. Well done, JR. JR, lock and load. There you go, ladies and gents. Your winner for race 2 in the Super Sprint Series. That was an excellent run from you. Well done, Keddy, 2nd place. Well done to you, Keddy, and Eli in 3rd. Those two had a fantastic battle all race long. That was really, really good to see. And then we've got Finkbeiner finished 4th. Great pace from him again. Michael Races, remember, started at the back, didn't qualify, ended up in 5th place. Great run from you, Michael. Goodway 6th. Really impressed with that run. So well done, Crazies. John and Chris Schneider, they had a good scrap together, those two, and they finished 7th and 8th. Cameron Martin 9th, and Ian Thompson finished in the top 10. So that is your top 10. Well done, you chaps. Evanoff is running 12th at the moment, finishes 11th. Payne 12th, Manon 13th. Tadema ended up in 14th, so that suggests to me that Tadema went for a move and that didn't quite come off and he lost another place. Michael Thomas in his Porsche finished 15th. Lurches in 16th. Has been setting some PBs tonight, so that's really, really good progression for him. Dow is running in 17th place. Is Dow going to finish? No, Dow. Yeah, there we go. So Dow 17th place. Wilms is going to finish in 18th. So well done to you. Herbert, someone's left the server. Herbert 19th, Goswell 20th, and Sokolov will be 21st. In the pits, didn't finish the race. We've got Woodward, Kerikez, I think James Williams, and Van Rees, if memory serves. Wowza. So, ladies and gents, that was, as predicted in the socials earlier on today, an epic and hectic 25-minute sprint race, back to back. Only a small, very, very tiny qualifying session in between them. Fantastic racing, guys. Again, I'm loving this sprint series. I hope you lot really enjoy that as well. And if you are, come and get involved. Check out the website www.formularacingleague.co.uk. Come and get involved. Evanoff saying his heart's got to explode. And they all seem to be pretty happy with that, no doubt, very sweaty, very strenuous hour and a bit of racing. So pleasure to bring that to you. Congratulations to the podiums for both races. What I will say is thank you to everyone that has watched. Thank you everyone in the live chat. It's always great to get involved with you guys and girls every week. Well, more than once a week. Everyone that's liked, thank you. If you haven't, it's like takes half a second, or sub if you want to watch the rest of this series or the GT3 Friday series or any of the small series I put on there about Coupes cars, things like that. It's fantastic. So nothing left for me to do, ladies and gents, apart from to say that was absolutely brilliant. Podcast tomorrow, Pure Simgear GT3 Friday, and then back, I believe, for the final on Tuesday for this series. So, COMMS by Coupes, out.